Hi guys, how you doing? And welcome back to Team Prawn Racing. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the process of fitting a full coilover rear suspension setup to the A3. Those of you following the channel might already know a bit about the A3 Leon and Golf platform. It actually runs a separate shock and spring on the back end from the factory. So you've got a traditional beam axle rather than independent rear suspension. You've got a shock mounted at the very end of the beam and then a spring platform midway along the beam. So this actually gives you a motion ratio on the suspension of less than 1. It's about 0.9-ish. This is the standard arrangement. So you've got a conventional shock and then you've got a spring. Now what you'd normally have is a progressive rear spring, different rate as it compresses along its length. When you go to something like a Gas Gold setup, you get a linear rear spring, which is obviously you can see all the coils are equally spaced along as you go. Now the issue this has on the A3 platform is that you then have to limit the amount of droop in the rear suspension, otherwise this linear rate spring will fall out at full droop. Not a problem you get with a progressive spring. However, on a track car it's much more predictable and much nicer drive in my opinion when you're on a linear spring. So what I'm doing, I'm converting to a full rear coilover. Now this is going to attach in the same place as the rear shock does, although as you'll see in a minute I've had a spherical bearing made on the top of the new coilover. So the standard top mount seen here, which is just a pin fitting, won't work. In this video I'm going to go over how I measured up just to fit it all, taking it off, measuring it up, have the new shocks made, making the new top mount and then fitting it and hopefully going for a test drive if it all works. Have a watch and we'll see you in a minute. I'm just going to jack up the car, get one of the rear shocks out, measure the open and closed lengths, and then we're going to send that off to Gaz, who are going to make us a full custom rear coilover instead of what we currently have, which is a shock and a spring separately. So we're just going to jack the car up, get the wheel off and get the shock out. What I've had done, I have had these made by Gaz, and these are a full coilover rear suspension for the A3. So you've got the standard, well not standard, but you've got a spherical bearing that goes in the shock location at one end, and then in this other end we have another. Now these almost go straight on. At the lower point they fix into the standard shock mount. At the top they go into the standard mount on the chassis, but the standard top mount won't take a spherical bearing. So I need to make some top mounts. We have some 4mm mild steel plate bent to 40 degrees like that. Some 50 by 50 box, otherwise known as 2-inch, 3mm wall thickness. And when you put the two of them together, and a very bad dose of welding, you end up with a top mount that looks a bit like this. So this top mount sits up in the chassis, goes over the top of the shock, and allows us to swap to a full coilover rear end.
A few moments later.
Got the existing shock out, that's where it used to be, shock and spring gone. Got the new top mount in. So it's just a case of offering this up, do all the bolts up, and drop it down on its wheels and see where it sits. So we have top mount there, spherical bearing, full coilover rear spring, and the old spring used to sit here. That's the new rear coilovers all fully installed now, everything's bolted up, all went fairly smoothly. All that remains is to pop the cameras in the car and go for a little test drive and see how it feels. So far these are feeling pretty good. I'm liking it, maybe a little bumpy for the road, but you've got to expect that when you're running 650 springs all around. Feels pretty good. spin, cars ticking over in the background there, and it's feeling really good. So they're not crashy, it doesn't bang, it rides over the bumps really nice. It is pretty firm, so we've got 650-pound springs all round now, and we've increased the motion ratio on the rear from about 0.9 up to about 1.01, 1.02 I think. On track it should feel really good. It's a little bumpy for the road, but I can always put the 550s on if I found it too much, or I can turn the damping down a bit. I don't want to turn the damping down too far in case it gets a bit bouncy. So yeah, we just pulled over to wait for a little break in the traffic, and then, as Calvin would say, we're going to get back in it and get on it. See you in a bit. If anyone is interested in the full coilover gas gold rears, then please do give me a shout. Best off give me a shout on Instagram at TeamPrawnRacing. If you've liked the video, then please remember to like, share and subscribe. And otherwise, I'm going to see you in the next one. Thanks very much. I just thought I'd come home and whip one of mine off just to be absolutely positive about length, and it's really different to yours. Yeah. Another spherical bearing, funny word to say sometimes. So we have some 4mm stainless, not stainless. Hello Rainbird, thanks for your editing. I don't know where I'm going with this, so I'm going to stop.